And we are live on Facebook. Hello, Facebook. Hello, everybody. Hello, Katreni. I
Hello,
am here.
Bella.
I'm here with Katreni, and we are going to dive really deep into Gate and Jinky 34. Katreni is a projector, and sometimes people tell me that I'm a living dictionary, but I think actually I found somebody who has more in your head than what I have. So, welcome, Katreni. And you have the 34, which is in transit right now in your sacral center. You are a projector, so it's an undefined center, and you have it in a second line. So that's what we are going to start from today. And then I would say we're really going to like go from what, like we were saying, the personal, how you experience it, like out to the codon rings, to cosmology, to whatever comes in to the field. So welcome. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit to everybody that's here?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Katreni. I'm Jinky's ambassador. I'm also human design consultant, mostly BG5, but also, it's all mutated, so it's many things. So I'm also like Bella, you on both sides, Jinky's and human design. I do consult, but I also love practical things like somatic work with the keys. But I also like to just ponder and contemplate as a projector to really dive it deep and then, empower and share with others through different means. But Instagram or Facebook, but mostly like live interactions.
Mm. So maybe let's start at the 34. I actually feel like I'm just going to pull up your chart so that people also can follow. Since let's see.
It's my body graph chart. Yeah.
Make it a little smaller. Yeah, so what we were saying is the 34 is in the moon, and it's in the so it's a conscious moon in the sacral center. And usually we have people that probably have it in the activation sequence or maybe in the vocation. But there is something, when I spoke to Katreni, the 34 was in my head from the beginning. Because I don't know, I really, when we did a reading inside a human design and Gene Key ambassador group, this was what I saw in your chart, and it's your drive. I mean, that's kind of how I see it. So I want to know, how do you experience it? Because it's such a generator or manifesting generator gate if it's connected to the 20. So what is it to have it in a otherwise very open center and as a projector?
Yeah, thank you, Bella. Mm, well, I think it was one of my like continuous insights, because moon is like it's what drives us, but also it's at the same time it's open center. And in my early years, like I've been through my whole 7-year cycle in this January, so I've been like through the whole deconditioning process. So I've been pondering lots of different ways of how I can approach my chart. While not only through strategy and authority, but through this analytical side. And one of the analytics in human design, she was saying, okay, you cannot actually go into your sun earth or into your activation or into your strategy and authority until you're really good in understanding your Mars and your moon, because this is a driving force. And also the Mars is this premature, like not mature nature, so which forms emotional body. So it's like these two components, like they're freaking you out, so you cannot actually neither connect with your personality, and I'm not even talking about design side.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was entrance, but because it's in a second line, it was always escaping. Like second line cannot see itself because it's projecting out. So for me, it was uh, I start to contemplate my body, and I realize that at least once a month, I become like crazy. I become crazy, and in the sense of energy. And the moon is a very fast-moving object, so. Uh, at least once a month, I'm a manifesting generator when moon passes the 20 gate. So it locks me in, and I have this charisma, and I have this thoughts must become deeds. And what usually happens that I clean up my space, or like it's very fast moving energy where like I cannot even contemplate. It's very strong. But also moon goes through the 57, through the 10. So I'm getting locked constantly by at least the transits, but also by people, of course. And so that was the first one.
Mm-hmm. And that's so interesting. So for people that aren't that familiar, we have the 34, and it's particular in the sense that it's part of the integration channel. So it's going to connect to the 57 in the spleen, to the 10 in the G, and to the 20 in the throat. And funny, there's also, you become activated in your throat, or defined in your throat, and also in your G. And your G is amazing when you see even like this is like, there's something with this geometry, and I don't even know what it means, but having those double ones and having that activated, that must also be, how do you feel, or do you feel when transits are activating your G in a similar way, or is that different? Or do you feel like as a projector always kind of have a guidance or direction? Tell us about the open G and that activation.
I mean, the G is mystery to me, but it's part of my moon nodes, which are also connected to the moon. So 7 and 13 are part of my moon nodes, and moon nodes, they're kind of one I don't know, one agent that kind of moves through the environment. Like moon nodes is the environment, is basically the stage, is basically the life, and the moon is what drives this life and like moves the form and creates this gravity. And I have 7 and 13, and also I have Pluto in the first gate, and the first gate, maybe later we talk about it, it's connected to the 34. So, and it's also Pluto. So I feel it as how to say, as when people come to me, there is this direction and creativity that arises. I don't feel it so much through the transits of the 10, though 10 considered in human design, when the 10 comes in the moon, it's kind of resetting happens, like a little death that happens during the moon cycle, during this 28 days. When the 10 comes, it's like recalibrating, I don't know, behavior in a small death act. But maybe we don't go into there. I don't feel like transit actually through the G center, but what I feel is when someone who has a 10th gate connects with me like one-on-one, this I feel strong, because I feel like there is this empowering of the behavior of the other that happens.
That's super interesting. Yeah. And if we look at it so it's not going to be in your gene keys, because here we only use 11 of them. And you were initially, I'm just remembering, you were saying that you wanted to do the 42 because it's your life's work, right? And that's something we did with MIDI, and we had a lot of people there. Yeah, there were like 5 people with the same cross that wanted to do it with us. Would you say something with a 34 in relationship to your activation sequence or incarnation cross? Is there any kind of insight there that you have?
First of all, 42 is also in my open sacral. So both of the moon, and like the moon in the I Ching, it's also the elder daughter. So it can take both the illumination of the sun, the father, and also it's connected to the form, the 32 of the earth. So I feel those connected a lot because they're inconsistent. Basically, my sun and my moon is in the north south, is not knowing when enough is enough. And also it's inconsistent, so it switches on when someone approaches me, and this I feel powerfully. And what I feel in these 2 gates, the only gates in my sacral center, is that there is this they're both act as a characteristics to my primal channels, 3254 and 6124. So I feel like the theme of cycle 42 and the theme of this great power is the characteristics of my awareness channel and the transformation channel. So I both feel them as this super powerful 7-year cycles that are embedded in my open sacral. So I feel their connection through that. And also, because I'm not a generator, what I experienced, because 42, 32, and 61, 62 is the cross of Maya. And media also has the cross of Maya, and I know many other people with this cross. So it's kind of penetrating the illusion. And I experienced that this is two very strong keys that I have in the open sacral. This is what I watch a lot. Like I'm really focusing on this generator energy and manifesting generator energy. So these two keys give me, how to say, understanding of first my own compromises, because I'm constantly compromised by manifesting generators who are surrounding me, or by people who have like 4253 connected to the channel. So I experience as a projector that on this cross of Maya is that I can, if I make a step backwards, and if I'm not pretending to be a generator, manifesting generator, I could really look into the power, into the essence of the power, and into the essence of what it means life generating itself like in cycles. So I'm like this watcher of these two themes, of these two characteristics, by sometimes experiencing them because they are my chemistry, but also like in my true self, when I'm aligned, I could really watch those patterns, and like I could really look into the illusion of them, of those two like energy gates.
And how do you feel, because you have a large split, is there any, like, how do you feel that those two centers are working, with those two centers? Like, what's the split for you?
Well, the best split for me is when I'm connected through the 5720. This is the brain wave, and this is the intuition connecting to the present moment, like awareness and the present and the intuition, and also the 17th gates of opinion. So I guess there are two sides of it. Is I'm becoming a pro in the theme of opinions, and I'm becoming like a professional in what it means to have 57 and 20, which I don't have. But I guess during the life, what split does is that you're becoming a professional in that split. And what I feel is that I have this power, but it's I feel like I lack the intuition and I lack the presence in my not self. So I feel like I have this power which is dormant, and which is kind of collecting and then bursting if I'm getting connected. But also I feel like I have a whole range of intuition. I have a whole range of how I can be present or not present. So for me, that was a big dilemma. Like,
Interesting. And maybe the last question I have, you are a 3-5, and we know the 3-5s are here to experiment, and we call them the martyr in human design. So having that kind of trial and error, and then open G, but still a lot of activations. Like, do you feel, when it comes to your direction, do you feel like you have been in trial and error, or do you feel like it was easy to kind of get to where you're doing what you're doing now, and being this like dictionary of wisdom? How do you relate to the direction and being a 3-5 and your G?
I experienced that this G center as like, mostly as being lost. I mean, my mind experienced it as being lost and finding direction only when I meet correct people. Like, correct people is it like I'm the direction for them, but also I find a place. And the 3-5, well, I mean, there are many mistakes that were not mine to make, and there was a big breakthrough when I understand that I'm willingly go into the mistakes. There is this laughter behind the third line, and also I'm understanding that I'm a black sheep. I'm also in the black now, and the black sheep is. It actually pretty much resonates with the 34 as well, because it's Hades. And the program, during the ancient times, there was one sacrifice of black sheep to Hades. And I experience that sometimes when I'm in this 34 propaganda, I'm being sacrificed as a black sheep, as being different. So for me, it was a big thing to also, after a period of deconditioning, realizing that I have no way back. Like I have to go through the experience of whatever life brings, also mistakes. Also, it's like a illusion, the Maya. So mistakes are part of the illusion. So it's really funny what I experienced, like with the gene keys and like self illuminating journey, is that mistakes are also as shadows. They're also part of the illusion of like the hallucination, basically. So it's just becoming more and more fun in that sense.
Thank you. I'm fascinated because you are also interested in the body, and I'm all about embodiment, and I don't want it to just be a theory. I want to understand how it moves through our biology. So where would you, with the 34, like where would you go in the biology and in the codon ring and the cellular with this gate?
Mm. I experienced that many people who have 34, they have like a huge pain on their back. So it's like the spine, the lower back, like a chronic pain, because they're over trying. They're not acting like efficiently or smoothly through their life. They're like forcing stuff, and forcing is like this back pain. But also, it says that it's a solar plexus, so it's like it's lots of ganglia around the spine, and but also it's a central column. It's like the force that made our spine erected, because 3420 manifesting generator is the first type that was present on Earth, as far as I remember from human design. So it's this survival machine. And also in the embodiment practice, like also which I did today, and with also this mudra of the 34, is ability to be in ability to integrate, and ability to integrate cellularly as well is about being aware of, first of all, of the whole of the body, and the spine is this central place which opens you to the back and to the front and to the side. So, and also its upper and lower body, it's like connecting everything. And also integration is about being open and soft. So for me, 34 in the body sense is about being aware of the spine, and whether I'm open, whether I can receive the other, like looking into the eyes of the other, realizing my verticality, and also like feet, head, and the sacral and sacrum connection, like this head, pelvis. So it's about how I integrate through my life. And with the 34, it's pretty simple to work bodily, because it's like the openness and the softness of the spine. Yeah, but I guess there are many secrets connected between the asparaginic acid, if we go into from this macrocosm into the microcosm. And 43 is this inner ear, and the 34 is this spine. And how to say, the brutality of being in the body, and the body as this matter. And this 43 is very ethereal thing. So there is this connection of also involution, evolution of these two acids, so to say. So it's a solar plexus, but it's not an emotional gate, and it's also not about awareness. So what really helps me to understand what 34 is about is understanding that this is sacral. So it's Dantian, it's a lower power center. And so it's not about awareness, it's not about fear, which means, so 34 is not about fear, it's about this movement, being in the movement. But maybe you as a generator could say more about that.
I mean, I have it twice, and it's connected to the 57. So that's why I become a sacral generator, and I have it in Uranus. So it's almost, I think it's only in Sagittarius that I have a couple of fifth lines. I don't have a lot of fifth lines, so I can feel it. And that's also why I call it a Black Panther, because it's like, yeah, the Black Panther has an awareness, but it's more like a presence in the now, and it's more like primal, and it's more like you say, it has to be aware of like all the body, all the spine, because that's part of its survival and its integration. And I like the other thing you said about being open to receive or not, because with the 43, I mean, that is the deafness that we have in both those gates, like not being able to even take in outside influence. And I can see that for, parents, for example, if a child has the 43 and the 34, and for me, like the channel of struggle, like I understand how many times it must have been frustrating for my parents to be like, oh my God, just like bang your head in the wall. And just, she is aware of it because of the other parts of my design, but it's almost like this was driving me too much. And now I know that I have Chiron in the 23. So of course, there with the programming partner and the harmonic gate, probably and my mom also has the 43 as her purpose. It's almost like the 43 in its deafness was there. And it's interesting because I always say that the body is the portal. It's only somehow through through the 34 that I can kind of get out of the trap. I need to come into the body. And when I feel the majesty of the body, then I can relax, and then I can start to open and soften. But it's only through, I can't do it through anything else. That's how I experience it. And I guess that it's becoming more and more, it's a gate that I love more and more. And I think before I didn't really understand it because it has all this power, like you're saying, but what to do with it? And I have all this intuition. So I know that I'm always, I have a completely open ego, completely open emotional. So it will go very far until I say stop. But when there is something, when my survival is threatened, like then it's like there's something that just like, push play, and then I'm out of there. Like I'm gonna survive. But it goes very far until it sets in. Yeah, that's a little bit of my experience of it.
It's interesting. Also, in the sense that it's a busy gate, it's kind of a joke of a sacral. First, it's not geometrical. When we look at the sacral, it all has this geometry, and then there is this 34 that sticks sticks out. And for me, 34 is a joke because the whole sacral center is about availability, and it's about responding. And the sacral center responding only to what it's available. But 34 is never available. It's always busy. So it's not about availability. It's asexual gate. So it's not looking into sexual interaction and reproduction in that sense. And also it's unavailable. And that's really funny. It's also very, how to say, it's about self-survival. So it's very egoistical in the sense that it's busy, but its energy is available only for the person who has it. It's not available for others. So it's a sacral gate, but it's also people with this only gate. If they have this only gate, they have a problem of understanding what's responding. I mean, manifesting generators, it takes lots of time for them to understand how to respond, because they're in a constant movement. They're not available. And responding is about being available to something. And 34 is never available. It's like always in a movement. So there is a joke and a big insight that can arrive through that. But also what it's actually available is it's available to a certain degree of efficiency. And it's available only to what is efficient. How to say, to what's, to the 43. So that's why they're connected chemically, the 43 and the 34, and they're like the mirror, as we said. And 43 is all about efficiency. If it's kind of able to actually transcribe this audio material in the head, because the other collective gates, 62, this metamorphic gates, and 56 and all this ajna throat gates, they're transcribing visual material. But for the 43 to be efficient, it needs somehow to go through this freaky audio frequency and to put it into words. And then those words in a moment, because both of those gates are individual, so they act in a moment. So it's not available, boom, it's available. So it's efficient, but it's not neither, it's not available, plus it's freaky individual, so it's not consistent.
Mhm.
So it's a funny game of power and insight, and that power responds to the efficiency and the insight only, but also they're very, how to say, inconsistent, because they're like never know what will happen next, and they don't know if they know or whether they want it or not. There is this all very acoustic mutative individual frequency of like, yeah, I don't know. And
I'm
yeah,
smiling because
it's
I
funny.
don't have anything else in my sacral. I only have the 34. And then I have the acoustic input from the 57 as well. So, and it's interesting, the thing with responding. I guess that's true. And I also see when it kind of connect, like, yeah, I see when that kind of snap happens, when the insights falls in, or when it feels like something is worth it or efficient, then it loves it, But
Yeah,
then
yeah,
next day it's like it just wants to go about its own thing, and then it feels like it kind of, because I have a lot of, like, I have a projector split, and then I kind of feel bad about it was fun yesterday, but now it doesn't feel, the insight has already come. Why are we doing it again?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not open to others, and it's not open to all of the information, and so it's like not responding because it's in its own movement and indecisiveness regarding things, and like acoustic, how to say, yeah, readiness, and like being integrated all of the time, and like self-empower. So if something or someone is not empowering, then it just skips it. So there is no sharing and supporting. So many people like, I mean, me as having 34, it's actually helps me because I'm a projector. So it's crazy because I can be busy like a manifesting generator, like a busy in the now, but also it helps me to, how to say, to understand the efficiency, and understand that efficiency is what creates time. But also the joke of efficiency is that we create time and we become, if before we were slaves of, I don't know, agriculture, now we're technical slaves. So people actually have lots of free time now, but they're not stopping to be better in their quality of life, or there is no actually how to say, time. It just becomes a really, really fast ride until we drop into the box, and that's it. So the thing about efficiency is that first realizing that it's not about making things better, but also there is a whole, how to say, going out of the program with the 34 and 43 is actually what Jinky is as well talking about. Is, for me, efficiency is pausing, and it's not about making things quicker or like putting energy into things, but it's about, how to say, actually go in between to kind of tear apart the matter and tear apart the time, and create a pause which is unconditional and meaningless. And this is what 34 and 43 in the program, they don't like. They want efficient, to create time to contemplate, but then this time for contemplation never comes. And what happens is that we just go faster, 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 and yeah, there is no gaps. So it's a nice program. We become more efficient, more cool. We have more time. We don't have to collect water and hunt for food. Uh, but then, how do we use actually this efficiency? Well, that's a big question. How to get out of this Hades program, which says, okay, you go fast and then you die, and that's it.
I mean, I'm wondering if this is a segue into the global cycles and knowing that in 2027 we're changing from a first line reality into sixth line reality, and the cross is the sleeping phoenix. And we in that cross we have the 34 and the 20 together with the 55 and 59. So I'm wondering, and that's a little bit what Ra is saying, is like everybody's going to be just busy surviving. It's going to be nightmare, you know. But I think we have maybe a little bit more of a nuance, like also bringing in Richard Rudd's prophecy of the 55. I think there is a little bit more nuance maybe in how we understand it. But do you want to connect this behavior of the 34 together with what's coming now in the mutation of the cycles?
Yeah, this interesting, because we are moving from the cross of planning. We could see that part of this cross of planning is the 9 gate, 9 gene key, which is about focusing on the details, on the collective. So what happens actually with the 34 is that our nature is moving from this collective focus on making details more efficient, or like looking into details of our experience, having time for it, and improving stuff, biologically kind of approaching things. And what happens is that this logical approach, this time, the scientific, how to say, exploration into the matter of things, it changes, and it changes into ourselves. So before we were looking outward into the details, I mean, into ourselves as well, or outside, like both ways, details like macro and microcosms. And it was about sharing. And now what happens is that we go into the individual. So it's about empowering and like being self-empowered, knowing the nature of our energy, knowing the nature of our movement, of our body, of our beast, and the beauty of the 34. And that could be a nightmare, as we know, if we just look at any manifesting generator 3420. These are people who cannot sit in silence. They switch on the radio or the TV. They don't want to answer the question, why am I here, what will happen. They just, the Hades, the program of the Hades, just make them move really fast, and then that's it. So maybe that will also happen after 2027. And I guess that's what will happen for the unawakened sleeping phoenix, people who bear this cross. But also, I guess, the shock experience of the 51, which also will be our consistent theme after 2027, this 51. Yeah. This will awaken most sleeping phoenix, which realize that there is no there is nowhere to run. So maybe there will be awakening of this contemplative space, because there will be not many things to do after a while, because it will all deteriorate. I mean, the structures where we were focusing, they will collapse. So the focus from the structures will come back into the body and into our how to say, into ourselves. But also it could be this force as a shadow. So we could force life, we could force this transition, and that could be painful, because what happens with the person who has integration thing, it can survive very well, but it also, how to say, doesn't put attention into the body, so the body parts can break and stuff like that. So there is one advice usually for people with the integrative channels, is that look, take care of your body, because I mean, they're survival machines, but also they can forget that they have a body actually that that helps them to survive. So yeah.
Yeah, that thing, you know, for me having the 46 in my EQ and then twice the 34, 57, I think, you know, more and more that's what I realize. Kind of like the vehicle it's the only thing we have. And if we're going to be passengers in it, we want to take care of it. Like it's more and more just, and that's why I'm going back. Like I knew it from the beginning, the body is a portal, but now I'm like uncovering why is it and what is it and why. So that's, yeah, I love that one. And I want to do my best to kind of just people that are completely new to this. So basically what you see here, the locks are in yellow, and these are all the gates of the G center. So we could say kind of the human way is the way of the G center is often what I say. And we are always unlocking that. And the G center is about love, direction, and identity. It's almost like we're always unlocking that. And if we look at the program, we are actually just going through the global programs go clockwise instead of counterclockwise, like how the sun goes. So we are basically just using different keys to unlock the lock. So right, so it has been, for example, it has been the 61 that has been unlocking, but now when we move one step forward, it's going to be the 54. So different gates are unlocking the G, and we see in the outer, we see what has been unlocking all these gates, and in the inner, we see what is going to unlock it from 2027. And of course, if those cycles are over 400 years, it means that we are very, very close, because we are in the last 6 years basically going up to that. So it's almost like this whole thing is active, or it's coming into that time. And that's why right now it's kind of accelerating. And like we were saying, the crossover planning is very different. The 9, the 16, the 40, and the 30. So 37 is very different to the 34, the 59, the 20, and the 55. So that is the shift that we're going into. Would you add anything to that, Katreni, to make it even more clear?
I guess I don't know if it can be clear at all. I mean, that's a lot of time to just read or listen to that info. But yeah, maybe I will add about the 34 as what is power actually. Because when we look into the lines, it says number 1 line is bully, second line is this projection outwards, and it's called momentum, like when there is like a momentum to the action. And then it's called machismo and annihilation. I guess you have a 5th line, so you have this don't mess with me annihilation, like people just walk around you because they don't want to provoke this annihilation onto themselves. It's the strongest one. And the 6th line, I like how it's named, is called common sense. So the basis of power is actually not the power or violence, but it's about display. It's like animals who display in their dance, or when they're fighting, they're displaying their power. It doesn't mean that they will fight. So the basis of the 34 as a power gate, the only power gate, like power of the power of the power, is actually about display. It's not about forcing. It's not about action. It's more like a dance. It's like also in some tribes, they dance and they show their power, and maybe just through the display, the whole thing could be managed like diplomatically, just by displaying the power. And that's one of the most beautiful like insights one can get if going into the hexagram or into the gate, like behind the words, in between the words. So the display, one thing, and yeah, I have a second line, so it's called also paper tiger. So I can project outwards that I have lots of like power, but in the end, it may not be like that at all. So what I experience, what's coming in 2027, is this display of first being present. The programming partner of 34 is 20, like contemplation, but also the display of individuated, differentiated awareness. And the display not of the force, but how I'm integrated within my body. I guess that would be the goal of those times.
Yeah, so I like how the keywords are how you have put you have here we see one example of how you do gene keys and human design together. So the keywords we're using the frequency band of the gene keys here, which we wouldn't do in human design. So basically the 10 is our nature, and then that has been unlocked by the 9. And the 9 is detail oriented, and it's a very different quality to how the 9, I mean, in the gene keys we say that the 9 has a dream, and every little step in their life is actually, you know, kind of going towards that dream because they are heart centered. That's the gene key way of looking at it. um, but it's very different from the Black Panther, the way we call it in the 64 doors, how the Panther moves through life. And it's almost like, I mean, maybe because I'm biased and I have the 34, but when I see a person that is really like a Panther in their body, like there, you know, there is an admiration, there is to that majesty, and you're like, yeah, that's the nature of a human being. When we see that, like, you know, we're sitting in front of the computer so much a day, and you see like people that start to kind of lose even their, you know, even their posture, like that doesn't inspire. That display, like you're saying, Katreni, is not a display that makes you inspired at all. You know, so it's, you know, like really kind of seeing how, yeah, how this is happening in front of our, like, how is it going to, how does it look? These are just keywords, but how does it look in reality? That's what I feel is really exciting. And I mean, now we're speaking about the 34, but you can do that in all, like our nature. What is it to be an example? Our temple, our body, like the leadership, you know, it's like, it really tells us, the G center tells us the story, the human story about what is direction, what is love, who am I, you know?
Yeah, the nature, the behavior. So our behavior from this sharing logical, intellectual as well kind of focus where we do one thing at a time, it will change to the unpredictable manifestation of our force as integrated beings, integrated within our body as the body itself. But it's not about awareness. So that's an interesting thing. The 34 and our behavior will change. Yeah, I mean 9 is also not about awareness. So our
Exactly.
behavior was never about awareness. It was
Yeah.
about yeah, it was about focus. But now this focus, it's not about like working at the computer. The 34 is far from that.
Mhm.
It will change into the wild nature, wild walking, wild running, wild surviving. But how we survive, that's a question. Like through what?
And I mean, I kind of look at the 59 and seeing the intimacy there, because the 46 is connected to the body as well. And it's almost like before we were just finding solutions and maybe getting exhausted, but now what's required is like this true intimacy and transparency. Like it's a very different, is a very different quality. How would you thread the temple and the 40 and the 59 together with the integration in the body? Like how would you speak about those two together?
Um, it's interesting because 59 is also the sacral center. So it's about being available to merge with someone. And 40 is the ego gate. So we shift from this tribal building of the temple, building somewhere where we need to gather. We are shifting from the temple outside, which we were building as a structure, into our intimate temple, into our body. So we're shifting from these temples of protected environments into the unprotected, transparent temple of our bodies. And this is where we meet with each other. We meet via our body, and how we meet is dependent on how intimate we are with ourselves. And intimacy is basically ripping apart everything we knew about ourselves. Because otherwise we have no space where we can engage with someone or with something. So I guess it will be like cleaning. I also experienced 59 as a big cleanser of all the stuff and lies. So I experienced 40 and 37, which was part, like, also part of the Sam Cross, I guess it was called. duality, where we also have 3420 and then we have 3740. So it's about building of the community. So we are shifting from building of the community into building bonds, one-on-one, and or individually based bonds. So it's like, the whole restructuring of our environment.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the transparency is about borders. So 40 is about aloneness and about strict borders, and 59 is that we no longer will understand the borders outside ourselves and within ourselves. So I guess it will be a big vaporizing event. 55, 59, vaporizing the victim, and also transparency in our sexuality, in our bonding, but also not just in the body, but in the government, in all levels, like microcosm, microcosm levels.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to speak about the Godhead and maybe go into where do you want to go from here? What feels right?
I have like all these keynotes while I was thinking, just gathering, and I experience now myself as a 34 a lot. Like I have this force or strength. But let's shift to the Hades. That's an interesting one.
Let me again share. Let's see where we have it. Phase one. So here again we have the same wheel for you who haven't like really looked at this part of human design, maybe just looked at your profile. So that this is the wheel. So in 1 year the sun goes through all these gates, and then we have the global cycles and all the different ways of going through it. But right now we are in the Sagittarius gates. Where are we? Yeah, up here. So Hades is the Godhead that has to do with 34.
Yeah. It's called, it's a first Godhead, though we know that the mutation is last quarter. Like we start from the initiation, like we incarnate, the return of the witness into the body, then we build things so we can actually bond and produce children. And then after we produce children, we die. That's the program. So, but funnily enough, it starts with the first gene key, and it starts with Hades. And Hades is the god of the underworld, and also, it's many things. At the times, it was present in words as a Greek godhead or like an archetype. People were not pronouncing his name out loud. I mean, Hades, it's about death, it's about underworld, it's about no one thinks about death, no one contemplates until like at the deathbed. So, but what's interesting about Hades is that it's a yang program. So it's about very creative, strong force of, we can consider even life, because it's about creative expression. It's about the first gate. It's about creative. The 43, it's about this breakthrough and genius and scientific creative power of the Ajna center of our thought process. What else is 14 is about gold. It's about this wagon full of gold. It's about resources. And the 34 is about pure power, whether political power during the wars, power, individual power. So it's a very strong force, but it's this yang propaganda. So how to say, how to put it together. So the Hades is a program that keeps us busy through the 34, through giving us, how to say, rubbing us from grabbing, how we say, it take away our purpose and it installs not self-purpose, which is after you produce children in the quarter of duality, and the program kind of lets you go, this genetic imperative to produce more children. After that, what happens is that you start to think of, okay, what I'm going to leave behind. I'm going to die, so I want to be immortal. And the not self of the Hades, it says, okay, want to be immortal? Be busy by attaining power, be busy by being creative, an artist, be a scientist, be an artist, collect lots of resources. So maybe one day some building will have a name of yours on it because you've like was a philanthropist. So this is a program that says, you're gonna die, and we all know it, but do you want to be mortal? Then be busy with this stuff. And basically, it's a super strong program that after we produce children, we like preparing money, we're preparing resources, we're preparing our pensia and like our nest where we continue being busy and then die. So it's a program that says, okay, if you produce children, what else? Be powerful, be a politician, be a scientist, be an artist, collect money, then you'll be immortal. But that's that's a not self program that the whole world is hooked on.
Mm-hmm. And I want to explain for people that are watching too. So basically, when we look at these godheads, it's not like the city, that we want to attain them and we want to become them. It's basically what Katreni is saying. It's a program, and it's a program that we stay conditioned through. And the whole science of human design is deconditioning, and it's becoming into our true individuality, our differentiation, our uniqueness. So we don't want to be like these guys, and we don't even want to listen to them. Basically, we want to understand them. We want to decipher or discern the truth and have an awareness. And then it's almost like we kind of get it. It's like we get a choiceless choice. We're still part of the program, but it's a different quality when we are aware of it than we were just like kind of horses that are just like running in it without any kind of awareness. What would you add to that, Katreni?
Yes, this is a nice thing to like understand, distinguish. And how do we distinguish? This is actually what's emerging, I feel now, is the yin that's emerging and the yang that deteriorates, in a sense that actually the program is the mind. All these godheads, they influence our chemistry, but only as long as we believe in it. We believe what our mind is telling us. We believe the social conditioning, the cultural conditioning, all this history stuff, and then it influences us. But what it actually can teach us, except being wise about, like, for example, the themes of the Hades, is that it's all about the body. And the body doesn't need all of that. It doesn't need gold. It doesn't just need sunshine. It just needs to feel good. And it's not about running towards those wrong purpose, so to say. But we cannot avoid it. I mean, it's strong, but it's about decision making. So human design, for example, gives this strategy and authority. Because it's about how you make decisions, not based on a program, but based on your quantum. Mm-hmm. And quantum is not the characteristics. It's not those gates. It's not the Godhead or even the bigger program. We are the quantum. So if we, integrate it again in our body, the 34 can also teach us as part of the wisdom, is that all this politics, religion, culture, it can no longer manipulate us because we're connected to the body, and body is not the mind agenda. It's a different way of being completely. Basically, if we were all together in the yin program, we would just go through the space without time, without propaganda of those concepts, politics, religion, money, and stuff, and we just communicate what we do out of responding to things. That would be a very boring reality, and mind does like to be bored. And this is what's coming. What's coming is this yin. And yin is frightening because there is nothing there. Uh, uh, so yeah, quarter of mutation, this part of Hades, which is, it's all about transformation through death and accepting death. And also it's about yeah, it's about yang propaganda, do, and like mutate, die, and get born again. It's about reincarnation. And what happens is that it how to say, it's getting apart. It's being teared apart by I don't know if we go into the cosmology, but mm, if to say in short is that um, the humanity goes towards understanding that there is no agenda. They're like gods losing their power, but also what we considered reincarnation and what we consider by being immortal is also losing power. So it's a merging of this body reality, and body reality, body lives just once, or it's kind of ascends. So we are approaching, as I see it or as I feel it, into this quantum of the body, which is just the present moment. So there is no even, I don't know how to say, reincarnation or this theme of immortality as a concept anymore. So that's an interesting part. And mm, yeah.
And for people, like, we are speaking about yang, so that's the lines that are not broken, and then yin are the lines that are broken. So it's kind of this, again, this, these polarities, and maybe some kind of balance is what we are, it's not going to be either just yin and only that, or just yang. It's more like, what does it look like if we have been overly focused on this part that we're speaking about? How can the form, how can the void come in, however we identify with it. And that's when you listen to the goddess too, with Ra, with Maya, and with Lakshmi, and this, it is about the feminine. It's about the form more than anything, the form principle, which is. So is there anything that you would say about that, Katreni?
Mm. Yeah. I feel I'm a bit losing it in a sense of it's so vast. Um, hmm. Yeah, I guess this quarter of mutation is also about like transformation of the form, and also the biggest transformation of the form is death. So what Hades and the 34 as part of it is making us think that there is no death, or we are too quick, or we have a wrong purpose, but the death arrives anyways. So how we become contemplative beings, how we use these characteristics as part of the wisdom, not to rush, not to like buy into the young propaganda, but like coming back to the body. And the correctness of the body is also the correct life, is about correct death. And correct death is everything in that sense. Because correct death allows us to reincarnate, and also correct death is something that is not connecting to thinking about survival. It's about this emerging into the body, where death is just part of its process, and we are no longer afraid of it, and we are not bothered by it. As well, we are not bothered by survival of the body. So I guess this is a big present of the body, or of the yin, is that it's not afraid of death, because body is this cyclical, it has cyclical consciousness built into it. And what I learned from the feminine, or the sacred feminine, or the goddess, is this realization of this organic reality. And yeah, as the first Jinky says, entropy also is part of the beauty, and beauty is entropy, and this a never-ending freshness of awareness behind it all.
Yeah, that's my evolution. That's something that has been a challenge and continues to be an exploration. I'm wondering, because we don't have that much time left, would you like to speak a bit about the amino acids or the codon rings? Like what's the next step? Where do you want to thread this?
I don't know, what do you feel like? Do you have a preference?
I mean, I feel like the codon rings are, yeah, I feel the codon rings are interesting, but I also love of course, the biology of it. So I'm, whichever you feel like you want to go into.
43, 33. I mean, it's nice. We talked that it's a mirror of our 33, 43, yeah. And the destiny, it's a question about the destiny. I feel the beauty of this contemplative, vertical, open, soft, and the 43 as this emerging breakthrough into the time space, which can crack this ongoing run, this ongoing business. And this is our destiny. This is how I feel it, that this 43 breaks into, and it's also, how to say, this projector power of the 43 goes into this communion and this beautiful dance with the beast of the 34, which creates a different kind of simplicity, efficiency, and majesty as our like common human dance, where there is no survival, there is no running, because we've arrived at something simple. How to say, yeah, simple and very, very individual, differentiated awareness and strengths. Because strength is something, for me, is about individual integrated awareness. This is strengths. And this is where we're coming back, like our inquiry and our like contemplative being and our collaboration of this 43, 34. And I like how it's connected also with this codon ring of illusion, 3228, like defying death. And because 3228 is this awareness gate, and they're about meeting the fear and transcending the fear. And the 28 is a brilliant gate, because this is what makes the whole integration channels actually look not only into themselves, but into the community and into other individuals and help them out. And also, I like that this is a whole bundle: Illuminati, illusion, destiny. And Illuminati is also what's happening right now with the communities and with the groups. Like the 50 reorganizes the chaos of the third, Jinky, and it's kind of created these family bundles. And the 44 is a synergies that arises out of the silence as a, how to say, synchronization with those with whom we one frequency, with whom we feel the heart frequency. And the heart frequency is only heard through the silence. So there is this reconstellation of the group consciousness, reconstellations of how we networking. And then the ring of life and death is the whole dance around how we take care of ourselves and the other 27. 23 is how we simplify our reality. 20 is how we are present in that simplified reality. Yeah. And 3 is about playfulness, being like children. And 24 is the silence, is about transmuting addiction to suffering. So it's just the beautiful contemplation of this 4 codon rings, that like this bundle of what will arrive soon, or what's arriving now. So for me, it's very actual. To my design, I have 42, 32, 34, 24. So I experience this in my life. like playing with those themes. So yeah. Do you have any of those?
It's so
How would
interesting
you
too,
put it?
if, for people that are watching, to see also how the codon rings are connected to each other. And you see the double lines are the programming partners. And then this is like, it becomes a geometry. And I just realized that I have the ring of illusion, I have the ring of the Illuminati, and I have the 34 in the destiny, but I have nothing in the middle. But it's almost like life and death, like that whole coding of life and death has always felt like, yeah, I understand it. But it's like, it comes through the other ones that are like, that are part of the geometry, not of the actual gates in the life and death. Yeah,
Mm.
and also having the 20, I like what you were saying about the 28, because I do, like we say, I have the 34 and the 57, and there's always, since my moon is the 28.6 and my pearl is the 28.3, it's almost like, and being a 4-6, the purpose always has to be beyond personal. There's like, there's this extremely transpersonal. As a 4-6, I think that's a weird profile in a way, because it is personal, yet transpersonal. And it's almost like this is the same when you have the integration circuitry, and the 28 is individual, yet there is like something, there's a purpose that has to be beyond that, where you actually do see the program, or you see the cosmos, and you realize you're part of it somehow.
Mm. Yeah. 28 is also a joke, because you can contemplate whether you fear of death or not only after you took care of the mundane. Uh, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I like this life and death in the middle, like in the middle where we understand what's illusion, we understand what, like whether we are part of any synergy or the group, and also how we deal with our destiny. And this life and death codon ring is very beautiful. It's like this celebration, nurturing, being like a child. uh, it gives us answers to um, to our future.
And it's also, I think about the process of deconditioning as well. And for example, what Richard is doing in his book 7 Years on the Wheel is like he's starting the whole wheel with the third gate, which is the eternal child. Like that's where it starts, and then it goes all the way around and it stops in the 42. So it's also that, like, we have the beginning in it, and we have the end. So that's when we start to kind of zoom out outside our own profile, we understand that it cycles and spirals, and then it makes more sense, and the decoder rings makes more, like everything starts to kind of synthesize and make sense together, is what I feel. And that's when we can have these kinds of conversations where we don't know where we're going, but it's all connected, it's, it's unfolding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the word, unfolding. uh,
So did you feel you wanted to mention something about the amino acids? Do you want me to show that slide, or do you feel like...
mm, yeah, I guess maybe we can look at it, but I guess I've said it all. Like this asparagine, this is 4323. Maybe it's just to see that this is the first phase of the Hades. It's all yan yan yan, like a. It's it's a strong force of the first jinki, which is all yang lines. And what I like, because it was recently in the transit, so because we go one after the other through the transits and through the Godhead, uh, is that it gives this contemplation, like the heaven, double heaven, a trigram of the heaven, and then upper and lower. And it says, okay, how you do with the entropy, like how we deal with the entropy within yourself, how you deal with the melancholy. And melancholy for me is being busy with things that are not empowering. That's entropy and melancholy. That's the biggest pain of the 34 as well, is being with people for whom you have to work, and there is no space for contemplation. There is no space to be oneself. There is always this work, work, work. And if there is wrong people, or if the environment is not empowering or creative, or contemplative, it's a bit, it's like it's depressive, you know. There is no space for anything. So for me, 34 and all of these gates, because we cannot look at one gate just out of the context. It always has micro and micro like context around it. So for me, it's about, okay, I'm realigning myself with something that's empowering, but it's not about survival. So there is always space for the other, but there is always space for like contemplation and distinguishing and discerning, so to say. I guess it's about integration of the yang, which gets absorbed by the yin.
I was just muting myself. Yeah, so what we're looking at here, often we speak about the trigrams, right? So then it's the, for example, heaven over heaven, we have the trigram of just yang, and then the next trigram of just yang. But here, when we're going into like kind of the cellular part of it, we are actually looking at the binaries of the bigrams, and that's what we're seeing here. We have yang on the bottom, but then actually, like, we're looking at the amino acids from the top of it. So this is like a whole, I mean, this is a whole world in itself, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. The duality program 0101, and the decisions we make in the choiceless reality of this program. So how do we make it? We need to make it as a quantum. We need to make it through the posing. We need to make it out of wisdom. And this is what Gene Keys and human design for me about. Human design gives us practicality and like the mechanics, but also it's not easy to heal. We need some wisdom, we need space to heal. So it's about pausing, and through that, how to say, we can integrate the program, we can transmute it, and also we can stay ourselves through that, realizing that it's an illusion, it's part of, yeah.
And I feel, you know, for me, having the 34 and having the 38 as well, and the 28, and sometimes being able to just use so much energy in different directions and in movement, I feel like where the world is right now, where basically for me, it's the first time in my life that I'm in the same place for 10 months. You know, it's almost like a joke in the Maya as well. It's like, okay, just stay there. And yeah, maybe for the first month, you could go crazy with some kind of video game or whatever, you know, but it comes the moment where even that becomes completely like, you can't do it anymore. So I do feel like we were saying with the 51, the shock that comes in and says, you know, yeah, you can like distract to a certain point, but then the shock is still coming and you're going to have to feel the melancholy or the entropy or, you know, what's there underneath. Yeah.
It's very fun to talk about it. It's not fun when it's arriving. So that's why we have to name things in different ways. I find it helpful, like talking or naming things or exploring in a playful way, in a different way, through contemplation, but also through like, yeah, any kind of exchange is helpful, because naming things helps one to see them when they arrive and see how we can go further or out, or actually if we actually can stay with it.
Yeah,
And
like
if we name it, we can own it. So that's what I love about Gene Keys and human design.
and there is something with the simplicity too, with the frequency band. Like there are three words, and if you understand them, you kind of see where you are on that frequency band, and you see that there is, I mean, as a human being, we're not just gonna, people are like, oh, how can I stay in the gift all the time? Or how do I become like a Siddhic being? No, it's like the human predicament is that we have that frequency band, and that the journey, the Maya is like the journey through the frequencies. So it's also, that's why I like the simplicity of the Gene Keys, because they are showing that. And we are going to know and be able to feel all of the frequencies, and there's no isolation. It's like a quantum where we're floating, it feels like. Yeah, are there any last words that you feel like you want to kind of round up with, Katreni?
I wanted to round up with Bardo, but I'm not sure. Yeah, for me, like just a quick word about death and dying is that it's important uh, to linger in the body, to linger in the processes, but also to linger when actually the death arrives. So there are like 72 hours after the body needs time. This is what I experienced, but also death as part of the body needs time. So for me, the whole quarter of mutation and the Hades and the 34 is not about being busy and then drop and then, I don't know, being cremated or being like uh, going into the next incarnation, but or thinking you will go. So what I experienced, and I have a lot of keys in the quarter of mutation, and this is what I learned about, is that the lingering process is important. While we are getting bored, we need to linger in the between. We need to linger, and at the deathbed, we need to linger. So, it's a
And
bit
that's
big words, but this is what I want to leave as a message, to like linger and at the deathbed, let your loved ones and yourself to linger even more.
Yeah, you know, I feel like when I hear you say that, and like knowing the theory of the 72 hours and the bundles of souls and being able to kind of to complete that process so that you can come back to that bundles of souls, and what I feel happens when that's not possible and when we are using the 34 in the not self, it's like we are a bunch of lost souls, and it doesn't matter if you're a bunch of lost souls without bodies or embodied here on earth when we run around like lost souls. So there, I feel like there's a powerful message in what you're saying and what we've shared today. It's like, you know, you a little bit in this Maya. It's like, are you going to be a lost soul running around like a crazy person, or are you going to take the pauses and linger and integrate and and merge the yin with the yang, basically?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm. Well, thank you so much, Katreni, for being
Thank
with
you,
us.
Bella.
And I feel like there are more conversations. Like, what if we could do maybe next year we're going to go around the wheel, you know, maybe we do at least one for each quarter, because they have like the way that you're like weaving it in that quarter is very powerful.
Yeah, I feel like we could be good empowering companions in that, because you know lots of things. So it's nice to ping pong and yeah, be with you in the conversation and also with others. Let's see what's there on Facebook, the comments, if there are any.
Do you want to look at it now, or should we look at it after?
Maybe we can look if there is anyone. Maybe there's some nice ending that could arrive through the comments.
Let's see. Oops. So, yeah,
Lingering.
not that many, but yeah, they are asking about. So Amanda's asking about histidine, and then people are saying that they have part of those.
Oh, it's us. Yeah,
Does
maybe maybe we could after we close. Yeah, I would love to see the comments and spend some time in
Yeah,
text
and I didn't
message.
share it. So I didn't share it. I only shared it on the page. So I'm going to share it in the groups, because on the page, it's not like that many people. But usually, if we go, there's something with this, because I knew that we are going to have enough, to do for an hour or more. So let's see. Yeah. And if you're watching this after, if you have questions, let's make sure that we go back to the comments and see if we can answer them after.
Yeah, tag us so we could continue that and see where it goes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Katreni. And
Thank you, Bella. It was
for
a pleasure. See you.
see you. Bye.